Welcome back to Edge Reviews. Today I'm going to finalize my review and kind of give you some of my final thoughts on the Gamo Accu 177. Just a little backstory here, though. This is a 10,000 round plus rifle. Where it stands right now, it's probably 13,000, something like that, 14,000 maybe. And when I first received this rifle, I did make a review video. Just I don't know how many thousand rounds I was in at that point. I totally forget. Pretty new. And not long after that video, I busted the spring inside of here, the piston, and sent it back to Gamo. Didn't cost me very much money at all to have them fix it. They got it shipped back to me pretty quick. It didn't seem just right though. It didn't seem quite right. And the accuracy was still really good. I was still shooting at 150, 200 yards with it on smaller size targets at times, and at 200 yards for an air gun. This is a smaller size target. And I was pretty happy with it. And then I had another incident recently, a few weeks ago, where I just realized, you know what, I wasn't happy with what I was seeing. The performance was kind of taking a dive, wasn't getting that velocity, and I noticed there was something wrong in the cocking process. I sent it in again, and I got it back, and I made another video saying, you know what, I don't know if I'm happy with the work that they did. Not the workers themselves. I just want to clarify, the people that I've talked to from Gamo customer service and their Smiths and that department, Bob from customer service over there, I told you I was going to be making this video. Bob was super helpful, very intelligent guy, knew a lot about what I was talking about with my rifle, and they really helped me out this last time. I appreciate the people who have worked on the rifles and whatnot. But the process just left a little bit to be desired. I'm going to talk about that real quick, about the customer service process, and then we'll talk more about the rifle. Both times that I've sent my rifle in, I sent it in as fast as I could, and they got it back to me pretty quick. I would have to say reasonably fast. I didn't ever wait more than a couple weeks. That's probably the best you're going to get for sending a rifle in to any sort of Smith, especially air guns. And this most recent time, no, the first time they didn't tell me anything. I was able to figure out, yeah, they probably changed the seals and the spring, so I figured it out on my own. They didn't send anything in my package letting me know what they did. The second time, they did, I was really specific in my note. You include a letter of what you would like to see, and they did include a target at 20 yards with some less than 1 inch groups, just to prove accuracy was there, and I noticed right away the velocity was there. But as soon as I took this rifle out, if you saw my previous video, while I was cocking it, during that cocking process, as I cocked it was fine, and when I put the latch back up on this under lever, didn't seem just right. I was kind of unhappy about that. I still am kind of unhappy about that. I actually did ask for a brand new rifle. I said, forget it, give me a new rifle. This is the second time I'm sending it in. I would really like to see something different. And that's with rare exception that they'll give you a brand new rifle. They did fix the parts though, again, and I'm fairly confident that it's in repair right now, that it's ready to go. I've only done about 500 rounds since I've gotten the rifle back, but I will say that the velocity is up there. Again, it's where it should be with the pellets I use, and the accuracy is phenomenal. I just got done shooting at about 75 yards a little while ago, and it's probably right back to where I expect it to be. And so the customer service process, the people I've spoken with, the people who worked on the rifle, I think they're good people. I think they're doing a good job. I have really high standards though, and sending a rifle back, you know, as soon as I get it and I notice there's something wrong in the cocking effort, it just doesn't seem right. Should have just given me a new rifle, in my opinion. Sent another one back, and instead of this one. But maybe they didn't mind because the accuracy wasn't suffering and the velocity was still good. I could see it both ways, I suppose. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because they have been very good to me, and not very many rifle companies that I've dealt with were as open and honest about their products as Gamo has been, and so I appreciate that. Now let's talk about the rifle. So starting at the back end, this butt plate that they include in here, the only complaints I have this many rounds into it is that these there are inserts in this butt plate. I'm going to take one out. These inserts in the back, they come out kind of easy. So it's just annoying to have that come out. It probably didn't need to be like that you could take them out. There's not much recoil in there. I leave them in there because I want as much to soak up that vibration as possible. but it's a decent recoil pad, and I do like it. The stock itself, I don't know why companies are building rifles with such a low stock and no adjustable comb. I didn't buy this rifle for $250 or $225, but when people are selling these rifles, companies selling these rifles at $225, $250, I expect an adjustable comb in that. That should be standard practice across the board. There's no more of this giving us really average products. You know, it's a great barrel, and they're putting a real average stock on it. That's what I think. You know, this checkering and this little insert here doesn't impress us, Gamo. That's old school. That's like 10, 15 years ago that companies started doing stuff like that. That's not a $200 component. I expect an adjustable comb. I built my own adjustable comb for less than $1. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if it's zooming in on that properly or not, but it was really, really easy to install. And just put some screws in right there to hold it into the stock. This is, from what I can tell, a partial hollow stock. I think it's fairly full, but a little bit hollow. And just a little bit of neoprene material there for my face. Got it in the right position. And now I really like it, but that should have come stock with an adjustable comb. The trigger is still great. It's still a great trigger at the price point, especially. I think it's like a 3.5 pound trigger. Maybe it's a 4. You can't tell at those half-pound stages. It's too much. But I like the safety. I actually have gotten used to these safeties now. I appreciate that. The SAT is a great trigger. I think the cat trigger is maybe a little better, but for the price point, I'm pretty happy with the SAT. I did put on a compensation mount, droop compensation mount, because I didn't want to pay for 30mm rings that had 20 minutes of cant built into it, 20 MOA of cant built into it. This was a cheaper option for me, so I have my Optic, which I'll talk about a little while later, in an SWFA mount. It's the salt mount. It's a heavy duty mount. It's a 30mm deal, and that's attached to my droop compensator, which gives me an extra, it's 10 inches at least at 30 yards, and I've found it to double my milliradian capabilities in the scope, so you can stretch a sucker out there past 200 yards. That's quite a stretch for this rifle, but it could be done in theory. From there, I always have to use a pellet tool to properly insert my pellets. The breech is really tight. It's hard to get to, especially if you have a big bell on your Optic. So I always use a pellet tool to get it in right. You will not get it right with your finger. You'll damage the pellet every single time. I don't know if that's a complaint or not. It might actually be okay, because it forces me to be consistent, and that's where I get the best accuracy, is if I'm consistently loading it the same way every time. The light right here is just a Mission First Tactical backup light. I had an extra one sitting around. I like to have a light on any gun that I have. I don't care what it is. I just like to have light on it. And let's see. The camo. If you've watched my previous videos, this is not how the rifle comes. That's how I did it up in kind of Cryptech. And towards the end here, I thought one interesting thing. Right here, it's almost an 11mm dovetail. It would have been kind of cool if they would have done Picatinny. First of all, this dovetail back here should have been Picatinny. They never should have gone with dovetail. I just want to comment on that again. That's ridiculous that it's 2017, it's 2016 when they're producing these rifles and they're still using dovetail. That is old technology. We are so far past that. But it would have been kind of cool if there was Picatinny here too. A couple accessory spots for just different things. Again, this is right around a $200 rifle. That's what a lot of people were buying this at. I expect a few modular components to come with the rifle, or at least be available to attach to the rifle somewhere. That's just standard practice nowadays. The open sights, which I hardly ever shoot with, are acceptable. I don't have a lot of complaints with them. This rifle for me is an Optic rifle. Let's talk about the Optic. I'm gonna spoiler alert a little bit about a future video here. The primary arms, 4-14, first focal plane, is a straight mill scope. I have been talking with Primary Arms, and one of their representatives let me know that this scope is not said to be shockproof enough for a pellet rifle or a hard piston gun. It's not rated for that, but we're several thousand rounds in, and the primary arms has held up. The tracking is true. I don't have my chart with me right here, but right before I filmed this video, I did a tracking test, and it passed the tracking test, so I was pretty happy with it. As far as my overall feelings about the rifle, I'm pretty happy with it. I would recommend it. I'm going to have a separate review about this primary arms, and we'll talk about that. So you saw some footage there of me running the box test with this rifle, and as far as ammunition goes, I've been using really standard Crosman hollow points, 7.9 hollow points. Get this to focus. Some 7.9 hollow points, and the reason that I've been using these is because they have the wider skirt that the pellet gun needs, and they have the weight that carries well at distance. I just haven't found many other pellets that do as well as these. One of the ones that comes pretty close is the Gamo. Believe it or not, the Gamo brand comes second to a Crosman brand, but the Gamo, these Hunter pellets, they're also a domed pellet. They're 7.5 as opposed to the 7.9 grain, but they fit tightly, and I think they have a little bit thinner skirt. I think that's where some of the weight is diminished, and also in a little bit in the head. But these are also pretty good. They're not as efficient as far as price goes as those Crosman, so I usually shoot those Crosman pellets. But I'm a fan of these. I got a free packet of one of these, and I would say you couldn't really go wrong with either one of those. If you needed to go faster for some reason, these do shoot faster than the Crosmans do, but long range, I probably would go with the heavier pellet. And some of you probably don't know what a box test is. That's okay. A box test is a tracking test. That's something I referenced earlier. It's where you are using a proper optic, like what I have here with exposed turrets. I don't know if you can hear that. So in your regular scope, it's not actually meant to be hit, you know, back and forth, back and forth. Those revolutions in a regular scope, the tracking of the actual brass mechanism, the erector tube assembly, isn't consistent in most of those rifles that I've experienced anyways. Even your higher end optics, your middle class, I'm not gonna call them higher end, but you know, your Leupolds and Swarovski and some of those brands, the tracking actually isn't as consistent as you'd like it to be. This primary arms, the tracking is true though, and I have the proof right here. So what you're looking at is a starting point. I have a smaller than my thumbnail, or smaller than my pinky, a little piece of tape, and I knew I was going to be hitting a little bit high because I didn't want to make this disappear. I wanted something to aim at every time. Aiming at 7 power at 13 yards. These are my first 2 shots. Not super impressive for me. The tracking, though, you notice I went up 3 minutes, and up 3 minutes, those two, you know, just about touching. It's acceptable. It's you know, 1/4 inch. That's fine. I'm not going to complain about it. I just know I can do better. And then I tracked down 6 minutes, so 3, 6, and there are 2 shots in that hole, and it's really hard to tell. I wish I could make this focus a little better. There's 2 shots in there. Tracked up 3 minutes, went to the right. There are 2 shots there. You can tell a little better that there's 2 shots in that hole. Tracked 3, 6 minutes over here, and there's 2 shots in that hole. And that's a box test. And so then I returned to 0, and there's another one. There are 3 shots in that center mass there, actually, and so it was right in one of those other holes. And so the tracking is true. I've done this box test. This isn't just a one-time deal. I've done this, I don't know, every month. I'll test the tracking. I'll test it close like that, 13 yards today, and then maybe a track at, I'll test it at like 50 yards. When you get past that, the wind tends to be a really big factor. You can shoot tight groups, but it tends to just throw off a little bit of that. So about 13, 50 yards, something like that. That's probably the best box test for this rifle with the optics that were provided here by myself. if you do end up getting this rifle, just one more thing I wanted to throw in with this review. I really recommend you do two things. First of all, I kind of regret getting the droop compensator and a mount. I wish I would have put it in, just saved up the extra, you know, $50 or whatever, and bought like, well, there's a million kinds of American Defense or something like that. The 30mm rings with the QD and the 20 minutes built into the scope rings. I kind of prefer that. I do like that this sits up a little higher because it gives me a little better access getting into the breech. But it's just nice to have rings that already have it built in so that I don't have to do this whole conversion deal right here. It does get me up high on here, and I would recommend that if you do use a quality optic or a proper optic to outfit this rifle, you're not using some cheap, you know, one of those scopes that doesn't have any adjustability. I don't know why we even have scopes like that anymore. Get yourself some sort of rest. You know, you can get those aftermarket cheap ones on eBay for like $10 or something like that. Just straps on over here. It's a piece of fabric. Get yourself something like that. I see a lot of videos of guys shooting. They got a big optic on the rifle, and they're doing a box test or something, and their head is floating all over the place because they can't get a proper cheek weld, and they're trying to do a chin weld on it, and they're inconsistent. You know, they're inducing parallax and having lots of issues like that. I just suggest get a proper cheek piece for your comb. Man, past that, I think I covered everything else pretty good. I am going to give one more update though. If I notice anything else with the rifle, if something breaks again, I'm going to make another update. Hopefully this summer I'm going to have quite a few videos shooting at that 150 and 200 yard marker. I have just a couple last year at that 150 yard marker for video. It's hard to make the video when you get out to 200 yards. It's a lot of walking and bringing cameras back and forth and waiting for conditions to be right. But I'm going to try to get some more of that footage on camera this year, just to show you what a tight pattern looks like 200 yards with one of these rifles. A lot of people don't believe it, but you're going to see it this summer. That's been Edge Reviews. Thanks.